So one of the questions I get most often when people are launching their wholesale brand, trying to grow their wholesale brand, get distribution, is how do I price my product? Oftentimes, actually, they don't even ask. I ask. I say, so you want to grow your brand? Let me see your pricing. Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's see the pricing. And I am shocked sometimes at what I see. So this video is going to go through exactly how you should think about pricing your wholesale product when you're trying to start a brand, grow a brand, and get that initial footing in the wholesale market. Oftentimes when I'm working with a wholesale brand and they're just trying to get going, I'll ask for their wholesale pricing and we'll take a look at it. Sometimes I'll see people selling the wholesale price at 90% of what the retailer is going to sell it at. So they're basically giving, let's say, a 10% or a 15% discount to the retailer. Now, I get if you haven't been in wholesale before, this is a logical train of thought. Oftentimes the traditional, in the world, wholesaling just means buying in bulk for a discount. So at one point I worked for a company called Woodchuck that sold custom wood journals, and I was running their wholesale, and I walked in and they were like, here's our wholesale pricing sheet. And it just had quantities that increased with greater discount. So if you bought, 100 journals, it would cost 10% discount from the retail price. If you bought 1,000, it would be a 15% discount from the retail price, and so on and so forth. So this train of thought is, okay, I sell directly to my customers at X retail price, let's say at $100. But if you're gonna buy in bulk, I can just sell it to you at a 10% discount. So now you're getting a discount for buying in bulk. In reality, when you're selling to retailers whose intention is to resell it to their customers, you need to account for what is their position. What are they gonna do with your product? And at the end of the day, your number one goal is to show them how they can make more money with your product that you're selling to them. So how can their retail store sell more product to their end customers and make the money they need to make? Now, to understand this, you have to look at what's gonna happen when the product arrives at their store after you sold to them, before you can even think about how are you gonna set up the pricing of your merchandise. Now, one caveat here is this video is gonna be very general. Depending on your brand, obviously, there's a wide range of what you should sell your product at in terms of the margin you're giving to the retailer. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna go off of the averages, oftentimes in the hard or soft goods category. So if you're selling, physical hard goods like electronics or soft goods like clothing. Now let's get back into it. So when the retailer gets your product, the average retailer is not intending for the product to sell out 100% at full price. Frankly, very, very, very few brands at retail actually sell 100% of their inventory at full price all the time. Those are usually really hot brands that actually constrain wholesale distribution because there's so much demand for their product. So we're not gonna use that as the use case for this example. Now hold on, it's time to break out the whiteboard to go over this topic. So when they take the product in, they're gonna look at how much money can they make off of your product. So they're gonna account for the entire season or the entire time they're gonna hold their inventory and look at the aggregate, amount of money they're gonna make from your product. So they're gonna take it in and they're gonna take in, let's say, 10 units at $100. Now, they've got 10 units at $100. They're not gonna think, oh man, I'm gonna make $1,000 off this merchandise. No. They're gonna think, all right, we're gonna sell 3 at $100, and then we're gonna sell another 3 when we go on sale. So we're gonna mark them down 25%. So we're gonna sell them at $75, and then we're gonna sell, to keep it easy, let's say the last 4 at 50% off. We're gonna mark it down one more time at the end of the season. Maybe we have a weekend blowout or whatnot. So we're gonna sell these 4 units at $50. So now if we add that up, so 3 is 300, 3 times 75 is 150, 225. So let's just put these math here. So 300 there, and then we're gonna do 3 times 75, 150, 225, and then 4 times 50 is 200. So what they actually made is 725 from your product. So they've actually made $725 is what they made from your product you sold to them, not the $1,000 of potential sales that they got when they brought your product in. So let's continue. So when they bring in the product and they might make $725, maybe they'll make less. Maybe they have to sell to 70% off, they'll make even less. They wanna make sure that they can still make money on your product. So if you're selling it at $100 and you only sell to them at a 10% discount for buying in wholesale, that means that essentially they would pay $900 for your product. $900, okay? They would basically get 10% off of the $1,000 retail price, which is $900. That means they actually lost money in this equation. So they bought it at $900 and sold $725 of merchandise, which means that they lost money in this equation. Obviously, losing money, bad. They're gonna wanna make sure that whatever they pay you can at least get what they expect to sell after it's gone through the entire sales cycle, which is the full price, discount 1, discount 2, discount 3, and so on and so forth. All right, let's clear up this whiteboard. Okay, all right. Put that to the side for now. Okay, so now that we know that this retailer, we'll call them Main Street Retailer is gonna make an estimated $725 in sales on your product, and that's without taking out the cost you're selling it to them. So now let's get into how are you gonna price your product to sell to Main Street Retailer A. So the easiest way to start your pricing, and I would say if you're just starting your brand, go with this as your starting point and then make tweaks from here. So you're gonna wanna go with what's called Keystone Markup. Now, Keystone Markup is simply just doubling the price of your cost for the MSRP or manufacturer suggested retail price. That's the price that the retailer, Main Street Retailer, is going to be selling your product at. So if they're gonna sell it at $100, your wholesale cost or your wholesale price that you're selling it to them should be $50. Simple math, doubling your wholesale price for their retail that they're gonna sell to their customers. In most scenarios, that is a profitable exchange for the retailer if they see value in your product. Just by doing a Keystone Markup, they'll still make the revenue and money they need to make off of your product. So once again, if the retailer is going to sell at $100, you're gonna wanna make your wholesale price $50. Now, if you're manufacturing your own product, of course, you need to make sure that you're still making money on it. So you don't want to pay your manufacturer $50, sell it at wholesale $50, and then the retailer sells it at $100. That means that you made effectively $0 on the sale, not even accounting for the rest of your costs as a business. So when you're coming up with your wholesale pricing, you now need to think twofold. You need to think, how can I sell it where the retailer can sell it at twice my wholesale cost? And then how can I make money from my built-in cost of actually producing the goods to sell to the retailer that wholesale cost still makes sense? So let's say you're gonna sell it at $50. That means the retailer is gonna sell it at $100. You're gonna wanna say produce it for around $20 to $25. That gives you a 50% margin on your profit of selling that product at wholesale. So let's map that out here. You're going to manufacture the goods for $25. Then you're going to sell it to the retailer at $50, okay? So now you're making $25 in profit per unit you're selling. That's a healthy margin if you're manufacturing your own goods. So now the retailer is going to sell it for $100 at a Keystone Markup, 50% markup. And there you go, everybody's happy, 50% markup for you, 50% markup for the retailer. Now a reminder, this retailer is thinking they're only gonna make roughly $725 off your product. So $50 times 10 units would be $500. They're making $725. That works for everybody. Now the good thing with this $100 is that you can actually sell it to your customers through your website also at $100. That means that your cost is only $20, $25, but you're selling it to your customers at $100. So you're making now $80 per unit sold on your own website, your own stores, you name it. And the retailer that you're selling wholesale to is also gonna be selling it at $100, making the margin they need to make. Now, there's a couple variances here. So when I worked in the luxury business, the average markup across the industry was actually a 60% margin. So that is 2.5 times the cost of the goods. So in luxury, the average was, if I'm gonna sell you a single unit at $50, you're not just gonna do a Keystone Markup, which is 2 times, so $100, you're going to do 2.5 times the cost. So if the cost is $50, you're actually gonna do 2.5 times. So that is $125. That's what the retailer would sell it for, or 60% margin. That's because there's less units sold, they're higher price point, so that's the standard of the luxury industry. Even sometimes to make it even more appealing to the retailer, we would go to a 65% margin just to really make it appealing that the retailer can make more money on those units. And then there are certain scenarios where you're gonna wanna go down from Keystone Markup. You might wanna only do a 30% markup. Usually that's for items that you can predictably sell at full price to the retailer, and or you're holding yourself. which means you're taking the risk on the inventory. So this is often called a stock program or a core program. This is items that you know are never really going to go on sale. And then the retailer can also order back into it. So maybe you sell them 10 units, but in your warehouse or in your distribution center, you have another 1,000 units. So when they sell through those 10 units at full price, they can actually buy back into those units over and over and over again, and they have enough demand. So that reduces the risk on the retailer side. They can, have basically no limit to the sales they can make. That can actually enable you to sell at a lower markup to your end retail. Now, in most of these scenarios, wholesale brands actually keep it consistent with the wholesale pricing, whether it's a stock program or a seasonal program, but it's up to you how you want to structure it. In closing, the lesson here is, when in doubt, stick with Keystone Markup. Just do a 50% margin on your product, do a 2x markup. So when you sell it at $100, the retailer is selling at $200, and so on and so forth. If you decide to offer your product at, a 20% margin or something much lower than 50%, you're gonna have a really, really hard time selling to these retailers because they're used to the standard of Keystone Markup and higher. They're gonna buy a product that has a better margin for them every single time over a product to you that has a lower margin, unless you're one of the few brands that are just selling like crazy. So that's how to think about pricing your wholesale product. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments below. Please drop a subscribe. I'm putting out everything I basically know about wholesale, retail marketing. I'm starting a startup in retail. Everything you possibly would need to know about building a retail wholesale brand is gonna be on this channel. So drop a subscribe. Other than that, get out there, get selling your wholesale product. Good luck, and have a good night.